To the Angles of Acquisition webinar, our holiday edition. My name is Lauren Baca, and I head up US marketing here at ironSource. So the Angles of Acquisition webinar is a new series, and it's designed to really dive into all things app marketing from different angles, hence the name, from optimizing existing channels to expanding into new channels and really creating the best experiences for your consumers. So today we have a panel of experts from all divisions across ironSource, where they're going to give you some best practices on how you maximize your holiday UA strategy, because the holiday season is really upon us. And one would say that it is probably the most important time for UA marketers to reach consumers. So much so that us at ironSource, we leveraging our market research capabilities, connected with our consumers to see, how have their behaviors shifted this year, spending habits, are they going to spend more time in app, really within this year of uncertainty. So we wanted to uncover those insights. So in partnership with MNC Saatchi Performance, we launched a report that just came out today where we share these insights directly with you. In addition, we have some e-commerce trends as well as some more UA best practices as well. So you can see on your screen that there's a QR code where you can download the full report to see some of the insights. But we thought before we kicked off the panel, we'll share a sneak peek at some of these insights with you. And we'll start with a quick audience poll because we are, kicking off the holiday season, and what better way to kick off a webinar in the holidays than with a fun game. So we'll go through a couple of questions and then we'll kick it off. So question number 1, what will be the most popular gift this year? So you'll see a poll on your screen right now. Take a couple of seconds just to answer that. Okay, so if you answered B, clothes and footwear, then you are correct. Oh, look, let's see. 61% chose electronics, where the lowest category picked was clothes and footwear. See, these insights are important. So our study showed that, we go to the next slide. 75% of the consumers we asked plan on purchasing clothes and footwear as the most popular category across the board and across all generations. So you'll see in our report that we provide a holistic view of consumers, and then we also dive into different personas, so Gen Z, millennials, Gen X as well. So this was the most popular category across the board. So next question. Will consumers spend more, less, or the same this year than they did last year? So a couple of seconds to answer the question. Okay, let's see what you guys said. 70% said that they plan to spend less. So I'm happy to share that our consumers, the majority said that they're going to spend more or the same. So 35% said that they would spend more, where 30% would spend the same. So I think it's a real testament to show how important this season is, and consumers are still spending. And so it's still a huge opportunity for marketers. And then we have one more question, and then we'll get to our panel. When is the most popular time to shop for the holidays? Take a few seconds to answer. Okay, let's see those results. Okay. Most, probably 50%, close to 50% said Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which is pretty strong percentage within our report. But you can also see that consumers are shopping early, right? They're getting their spending going in fall, right? And we have a looming inflation and recession over us. And so people want to get that spending done, right? So it's a great opportunity to reach consumers now. Okay, so with that, I'm very excited to share our panel of experts, Noah Eckstein from ironSource Luna. She's going to talk about best ways to create holiday themed creatives to really maximize the impact. Sarah Schaefer from ironSource Sonic is going to talk about offerwall advertising. What is an offerwall and how do you maximize it to drive pretty significant ROAS? And then Jess Overton will close us out with the effectiveness of on-device advertising, especially in a time where people are buying and gifting new devices. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Noah to kick us off.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, cool. So we talked about the basic formula of life. Now you can actually see it, and that the customer acquisition cost should be lower than your LTV. Jasmine? Great. And here is how you can reach the higher IPMs, right? The higher IPM you'll get, you can have a lower customer acquisition cost, and it will be lower than your LTV. So let's talk about how to bring these high IPMs. So the secret to high IPMs is to trigger an emotion, right? You want your users to go from a passive mode to just seeing an ad to actually feeling something and want to download it and creating the next phase, which is the call to action. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a very positive emotion, but it has to be an emotion. And the holiday season is a really good time to trigger these emotions because people tend to be more emotional from the get-go. But the big question is, should you invest in holiday creative? And we'll talk about why yes, but I wanted actually to start with why not to invest. So the first reason, we have three, just like everything else in life, is holiday creatives have a short lifespan. If you're not willing to run your creative after the holiday season is over, so you're producing creative that have high costs and need more resources and need more attention from your team for a very short time, which is usually 2 months. If you're willing to run your creative after that, it's a whole other game. But if you're not, so the creative, even if they will be successful, will have a really short time of impact. Jasmine? The other one is that most creatives fail. And this is a big pain point, I think, for all of us that are producing creative and testing them and wanting to see our babies scale, that most of them are not scaling. Most of them will probably fail. And if you're investing specifically for the holiday season and it's short, so it will be more challenging for you. And I think the third one is more of a question. What about your game? Are you using live ops? Do you update your game with the holiday theme? Because if not, so you will need to check quality. Users that will see the holiday theme in the creative will expect to see it in the game as well. If not, you will need to be very, very alert on what's happening after the user download the game. Are they disappointment or not? But if you are using it in the game, so good. So it should mean that you can use it in the creative as well. After talking about what's not and bringing everybody down, let's look at the data a bit, because data will give us always a better idea, and I can't have a presentation without some graphs. So the first thing that we'll see is that the IPMs are higher during the holiday season. So Jess and Sarah will talk about this as well, but we're seeing more engagement in the App Store and more engagement with the phones during the holiday season. It can be because users are getting more phones. People that didn't have phones before are giving a gift of a phone, which is always a positive thing. And they're using also the phones more often. They're using it for longer periods of time, spending more time on their phones, basically creating more engagement. And the higher IPMs is a really good opportunity, something we can capitalize to use in our US strategy. Next. What we're also seeing is that installs tend to be also very, very high during this time of the year. In Christmas, we are seeing a huge increase in installs. And fun fact that if you look at 2020 and compare it to 2021, you won't see the same trend because of the Corona year, right? So you'll see something very different. But this year, we expect to see the same trend as last year and a huge increase in the number of installs. And the last one is advertisers tend to test twice as many creatives during the holiday season. It's because they're testing holiday creative. It's because they know that more users will spend time on the phone seeing ads, and they want to capitalize this engagement of users. And you don't want to be the one that's left behind, right? If everyone are doing it, you want to do it as well. Let's see how success looks like, right? So if you're this is an example of a great playable that was produced by a really good company that I can't say their name, but it was produced with Luna. And what they did is they changed a sword to a holiday tree, the Christmas tree. And it created a huge, huge impact in the number of installs that we are also seeing that it was the top performing creative even 2 months after Christmas was over, right? It was so successful. And it didn't really matter to them that it's not a holiday anymore, because it didn't really matter to the users, right? They still liked the Christmas tree more than they liked the sword. So this is an example of really, really successful holiday creative. The other one is we are seeing the same example, but here we are seeing that it was the top performing creative even 4 months after the holidays, right? We are seeing here data until the end of April, okay? And because they didn't deactivate the creative, because small tip from me, never ever deactivate a successful creative, no matter what's the cost. So in this case, they kept running it and they saw amazing results for it, and we were very, very happy. So what we saw is really good examples of how you can use the creative to create a spike in your user acquisition. But I have some more good reasons why to test creative. So first of all, it's a great opportunity to refresh. You're just by giving your creative team the challenge of creating holiday creatives or seasonal creatives, right? It can be also winter theme. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to the holiday. But just by doing so, you can bring some really good executions and interesting ideas that wouldn't have come any other way. Okay, so this is something that can also be very beneficial for your creative team going forward. Another thing that I touched before is that the holiday elements trigger an emotion, right? An emotion trigger an action and higher intent. And this is basically all you can ask for your creative. And the last one is that you can create a really healthy dialogue between your UA team, the creative team, and the product team. Maybe they're not on the day-to-day basis working together, but now during the holiday season, when the product are also trying to add the holiday theme to the game, and the creative team want to add the holiday theme to their creative, and now it's a good time to talk together and combine forces and to understand what is working for who and test it. So if you have a really good, really successful creative, you can take the theme and add it to your game. And this is something that will create a better work for them also moving forward. And these are the examples of a client that we produce creatives for. And I wanted to show you the examples. You can understand that you can mix and match all kinds of practical advice in order to build a really good holiday creative. And I will be very honest about the results here. So we're seeing the left creative, what we took the best performing creative, you can see it in the little box below. And we just changed it to holiday theme. So this didn't work, okay? The holiday season we still have some time, but for now it's not really successful. The other thing is that we replaced a mermaid's head with a pumpkin head, right? And it's something that is very easy for creative team, right? You already have the video, you already have the source, the open file, and you just need to replace it. And we also changed the pointer to be like a witch's hand animated pointer. And we're not seeing good results from it, right? It's still inconsistent. Maybe it will pick up, maybe not, but we're still in a very early stage of the holidays. But another thing we tested is that we took the gameplay that has a holiday theme to it, the Halloween thing, and added the witch that is playing the game. And this actually is one of the most successful creatives we have for this app right now. And it also brought a 20% higher day 7 ROAS. And it's not even Halloween yet. So we are still thinking that it will pick up, but this is an example of really successful creative. So here we can see what we decided to do for one of our clients in order to boost their performance during the holiday. Now I want to talk about, so you know why to do a holiday creative, you know what not to do. And here I wanted to give them some really like practical tips on how you can do it pretty easily, right? If you don't want to go into heavy production. So use real people, real footage, pure happiness, incorporate it in the gameplay. It can be taking for your top performing creative, or it can be something that you just recorded now because now it's live in your game. The other way that you can test is holiday figures, snowflakes, pumpkins, witches, anything you want to just spice your creative to trigger the emotion that we talked about. And also you can just change the pointers or the buttons. We started with the witch before, now we're saying it with Santa. And this is something that can definitely help you with testing creative without investing too many resources to it. And I think it's something that you can take and test, and you still have time before the holidays, so now it's a good time to try. To wrap it up, okay, so you need to decide for yourself whether it's worth testing holiday theme creatives or not. Like I mentioned, many advertisers are taking advantage of this time of the year to boost their performance, but you need to weight it against your resources. Okay, your resources, the cost, how much will it affect if it won't perform? And if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be very happy to answer later in the webinar. So thank you and have a great holiday.
Okay, thank you, Noah. Now we'll hear from Sarah on your holiday offer wall strategy. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Lauren. All right, let's jump right in. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what the offer wall is. The offer wall is an ad format that's used premium in-app marketplace, user initiated, all rewarded. We say that the offer wall is really benefited by three main groups. You have your developers who use it to monetize. They also use it in conjunction with getting that user a little deeper in the funnel and a little bit more engaged. You have your advertiser group who is using this to find a very unique audience that is in gameplay, that is looking for something, a transaction of some sort. And then, of course, you have the consumers. Now, this is our reason for the season, if you will. The consumers are really looking to find, they're really using the offer wall for app discovery, for that new brand, for that new direct-to-consumer marketer that they can combine with to get further and deeper within either their app or their game. Right. When you were thinking about ad formats, how does this all happen? How does this all work together? How do the advertiser and that consumer come together in the moment? We have a couple of different ad formats. The first one being our cost per engagement product. This is all about getting that user deeper down the funnel, not only installing and opening an app for the first time, but what is the point of adoption from the advertiser's perspective? What do you want the user to do to remember the app, to get educated about the app, and then, of course, to find it valuable and use it again? For a more immersive experience, we also have multi-reward CPE. So this is all about rewarding that user for doing more actions, not just installing, opening in one action, but potentially installing, opening, downloading a coupon, signing up for a mailing list, making a purchase, joining a subscription package. Cost per action is probably one of our most common and our most commonly used when it comes to the holidays, but this is where a consumer will go to a retailer's website, make a purchase, join a mailing list, anything from really low friction to really high friction events. And we use this in a lot of different creative ways, particularly around the holidays. Cost per install is pretty self-explanatory. These are our advertisers who are looking to drive a lot of new users to their app, app discovery. It's really about getting that app out there in market. And then surveys. How do the consumers feel? What are their thoughts? What are they into? So we have another product that is strictly focused around that. All right, diving into the holiday strategy around the offer wall. There's a lot of reasons why this time of year is really important, but one of them is all about the new devices in market. And Jess is going to talk about this more in detail, but what we notice around this time of the year is you have Apple, you have Google, you have Samsung kind of all releasing their latest versions of their best selling devices, new iPhones in the market. And if you're an early adopter of technology, you might already have one. But what we want to show you is that a lot of people starting in October are starting to buy these devices. As you get towards the end of the year, you're going to see a lot more of these devices ending up under Christmas trees and wrapped up as gifts. So whether you're the receiver or the giver, you're going to see a lot of new devices in market. And one strategy is to think about how you get in front of those devices and be top of mind as an advertiser. If you're anything like me, you might maybe put your holiday shopping off a little too long. Every year, I get to the gift wrapping part of this season and decide very quickly that I didn't start early enough. So this is something we want you to remind your consumer about. Just like the study said, the holiday shopping season has already started. It's already begun. We have Halloween coming up on Monday. It's a minor holiday, but we do want to be consistently reminding that user that the holidays are coming. It's time to shop, and we'll talk about that in the messaging in a minute. The offerwall offers a very unique program in its currency sales. So what we do is we work very closely with our publishers to try to create some leveling up opportunities for both consumers and advertisers. So what we do is work with publishers to ensure that they're thinking about strategic holidays and times throughout the calendar year where we're having them double down on their rewards. So whether it's a 2x sale or a 3x sale, we're pulling in those users saying, hey, if you come make a transaction in the offer wall at this time, you're going to get extra currency. At the same time, we work with the advertisers to double down on their bid. And what that does is creates an even additional award for that user. So the rewards are higher, the traffic is higher, we get a lot more traction. And what you end up with at the end of the day is a consumer who has a really great deal in front of them. And we know from the study that that's definitely something that they're looking for. In the end, we see about a 35% lift in conversions during this peak season. Our end of the year currency sales end up performing really well. So really important to sort of be involved with that if you're an advertiser and ensure that you have that sort of top of funnel placement. All right, so how do we do this? How do we get creative and make sure that we're capturing all this great offer wall traffic? Number one is staying competitive and thinking about having that special promotion in place. We know that users are looking for deals. In fact, 40% of the respondents from the survey said that it is basically one of the main things that they look at when they make a purchase. So it's really important in this purchasing decision-making process. So whether you're showing a 40% off or you're looking at a specific, maybe exclusive merchandising package, we want to make sure that our advertisers are thinking about getting really creative, switching up promotions every few days, and keeping something fresh, unique, and competitive in front of the users as often as possible. Now I'm back to this sort of reminding thing, right? We're always trying to remind the consumer it's time, it's the holidays, and also reminding them who to buy gifts for. So including gifting and holiday in your creative, along with what Noah said, we definitely support the logos, and we want to make sure that the gifts and icons are all in place to make sure that there's these little consistent reminders always happening with consumers about the holidays, about where we are in the process. The other thing is to call out someone in particular for that someone special in your life, for that pet. Another takeaway from the survey is people actually plan to buy their pets gifts this year, so you don't want to leave those specific groups out. And then one more thing to add about imagery. So in the offer wall, we created a shopping tab about a year ago, really to solve the challenge around making sure that consumers had a really full understanding of what our advertisers do. If you're not a household name like Amazon or Samsung, you might struggle to get users to understand with such a tiny real estate in the offer wall. So the shopping tab allows us to highlight a lot more of that packaging, the merchandising, and sort of the best selling products. So we're encouraging our advertisers this season to think about how the imagery and how the packaging and how giving the shopper an idea of what will be shipped to their home, how it will influence their shopping behavior. So whether you're the gift receiver or the gift giver, it is important to make sure that that consumer, that person who's going to make that purchase at the end of the day, really has a strong understanding of what they're going to get and why they should opt into this offer. All right, well, I hope everybody gets everything on their list this year. And if you have any, if anybody needs any help formulating an offer wall strategy around the holidays, please reach out.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And then finally, we're going to go to Jess, who is going to talk about the importance of an on-device strategy. So Jess.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and thank you very much, Sarah. It's good always to be reminded of how many new devices are going to be sold during this time of year, because there really are going to be a lot of devices sold and unboxed, unwrapped, whether it's going to be a Black Friday or Cyber Monday, which are quickly approaching, or whether it's going to be unwrapped under the tree. There's going to be a lot of new devices being sold. And it's really a really fun experience. I was telling Sarah yesterday that I had the pleasure of unwrapping what I thought was a new mobile device. I was absolutely over the moon, only to find that it was a book inside. So for those of you who are still wondering how to wrap your presents, don't do that, because it is a very, very exciting experience, but it was a devastating experience to find a book under there. I enjoyed the book in the end, for those of you wondering, but it was, I wanted the device. That was really what I wanted. But there you go, 51% of users or of consumers this year have said that they plan to gift new devices this year to friends, family, or even themselves. And when we talk about devices, we're not really talking about devices, right? We're talking about a world of things. We're talking about entertainment. We're talking about access to the world's greatest mall in your pocket. We're talking about access to the world's town square. And really, how we decide to use our devices or what we decide to participate in is a function of which apps we're interested in and eventually which apps we decide to download. 95% of those users who are going to be unboxing their devices this Christmas are going to be downloading apps within the first 48 hours of the life of that device. And during those 48 hours, they will install 60% of the apps they'll ever install on that device, which seems like a pretty crazy number. But I think if you look at your devices now and look at your home screen and ask yourself when the last time it changed was, when the last time you downloaded a bunch of apps, it's probably not been very long. And that's really the power of capturing a download at device activation. I'm sure that many of you have heard the term pre-install or preload in the past, but those aren't synonymous with on-device marketing. On-device marketing is taking pre-installs into the age of performance. So we here at ironSource Aura partner with handset manufacturers like Samsung and mobile carriers like T-Mobile, Vodafone across the world to deliver app discovery experiences of all sorts directly to users on their devices. So with on-device marketing, you can get your app discovered at key moments during the life cycle of the device, whether it's a device activation on Christmas morning, whether it's after a major operating system update, or just around the holidays. Capturing user attention when they're most likely to install an app that they need or an app that they want is really a crucial part of any user acquisition strategy. On-device marketing also enables dynamic bidding, deep targeting capabilities, and endless opportunities for optimization, which is another feature that's largely impossible on the more traditional pre-install channels that you've probably heard of in the past. Well, combining those two together are both unique opportunities to meeting users at moments that they're ready to discover and experiment with new apps with first-class optimization capabilities means that on-device marketing is a channel that really converts potential users into high-value customers. And you're probably wondering how you can get started. So now is the holidays. We've heard perhaps conflicting advice this morning, or where are we, this afternoon, this evening, from Noah, from Sarah, and depending really on the channel that you're working on, there's always the idiosyncrasies of each. On-device marketing, we do see significant uplift when we're talking about tailoring your creatives on the channel. For the most part, depending on which user segment you're targeting, you'll leverage different placements. You can see two of them here. The first one is our tiled experience, which is a pretty easy lift. So if Noah was talking about getting really deep into difficult, complex creatives running lots of different variables, what we're talking about here is a relatively simple one. The Santa hat on a pig is relatively cute, and it's relatively easy as well. We do have the slightly heavier lift creatives as well. On the right side, our full screen offer, which puts people a little bit more into that Christmas spirit and gives them, or the holiday spirit, and gives them a little bit more of a view into what they might be able to do with their apps. So the first step is tailoring your creatives both per placement and per user segment that you are targeting. I said a few minutes ago that 51% of the population is planning on gifting a device, and you might go straight to the idea that it's going to be Gen Z or the younger populations who are going to be getting devices, but that's actually not at all the case. So new device activations last Christmas, and this data that you're seeing here is from last Christmas, cuts really across all of the segments of the population. So the under 18s and the boomers are a little bit less represented, but Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, everybody is going to be getting a device. And that's really important for marketeers for a number of different reasons. First, I know there are some marketeers who are always gunning to get to hard to reach demographics. The over 55 demographic is often a little bit more difficult to get to. They're not necessarily on social. They're not necessarily going to be searching as much as the younger generations. And the on-device channel provides access to that group. On the flip side, Gen Z, who are absolutely bombarded by ads, are going to be a little bit more receptive, perhaps, to an experience that's on device. It's reaching them at a critical moment, and you can cut through that noise there. So really understanding that you have access to a broad spectrum of user demographics on the on-device channel is important, but in the end, it's all coming down to ROI, as you know. So knowing what your user base is, knowing what their LTV curves are, and pricing accordingly. With on-device, as opposed to many other more traditional channels, it's a bit of a one-shot Charlie. We only have one Christmas morning. You only unbox your device once, and that's what makes it such an exciting experience. It also means that we have to get our bids right the first time so that we get that user when the Aura experience is live. So super important to get pricing right. The third thing I mentioned earlier when I was sort of talking a little bit about what on-device was about longer term user value. So we see that the curves for more traditional UA channels, be it social or paid search or other networks, we generally see that things take off pretty quickly. We have a lot of data in the early days. We can understand where we're headed in terms of LTV and optimize accordingly. On-device is a very different beast. It tends to be a much slower burn. And if you think about that Christmas morning, when you're activating your device, you've just unboxed your new Galaxy flip phone, and you want to get it all kitted out with all the apps that you want. You're going through an app discovery experience. You might download a travel app, a food delivery app, a few shopping apps, a bunch of games. And I can tell from my own experience that I eat far too much at Christmas. Ordering food is not a thing that happens, not for the Christmas day, and certainly not for the week after when I'm stuffing myself with leftovers. So in this case, I wouldn't be the one that would be ordering food. I might dabble in a couple of games, and in a minute we'll see some data from that world. But in terms of food delivery, in terms of shopping, we're going to see the users start to engage more day 14, day 30. It's a slower burn because they're starting to ramp up their usage of those apps as they get used to them, as they increase their share of voice in terms of their actual app usage. So that's the first thing to know about on-device. And that effect is actually amplified come the holiday season. So what we're comparing here is two data points, or I guess two data sets from a bunch of gaming advertisers, again, from last year's holiday season. And we're comparing the performance of our campaigns from Q3 into the holiday season, specifically around Christmas week. Now, it goes without saying, or perhaps it doesn't, and I should say it anyway, that both campaigns were profitable. We hit goals, and despite the fact that there's not a huge amount of difference between the actual types of users that we were delivering the ads to, what we saw was that during Christmas, ROAS was significantly higher on day 60 than it was for those users acquired during Q3. You can see that on day 7, although they're pretty small bars, that there's a very slight difference. Day 14, the same, but by day 60, we've really seen a differentiation between the two types of users. I think Sarah mentioned it, perhaps it was Noah, that we spend a lot more time during the holidays just lounging on the couch, lazing around, hanging out with family, and perhaps playing more games, right? And this is a time where we see users start to dabble with apps, and they might not use them immediately, but this is when they're really deciding that they're going to use them for the long run. So those are the 3 things that you need to know about running on device in the holiday time. First is to holidayify your creatives. The second is to target across all relevant demographics for your app and price accordingly. And the third is to sit back and watch that long-term value just rack up. If you guys want to get started with on-device campaigns, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. And I wish all of you a very, very happy holidays, be it Christmas, Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate. Thank you very much.